Fichtel Mountains. The Fichtel Mountains, German, Fichtelgebirge, Czech, Smrčiny, form a small horseshoe-shaped mountain range in northeastern Bavaria, Germany. They extend from the valley of the Red Main River to the Czech border, a few foothills spilling over into the Czech Republic. They continue in a northeasterly direction as the Elster Mountains, and in a southeasterly direction as the Upper Palatine Forest. The Fichtel Mountains contain an important nature park, the Fichtel Mountain Nature Park, with an area of 1020 square kilometers, 390 sq mi. Origin of the name. The first person to write about the Fichtel Mountains, Matthias of Chemnath, actually Matthias Widman, b. February 1429, in Chemnath, reported in 1476. Einberg, Hock, Weight, Walbeckend liegt in Bayern, nahe der Fichtelgebirge mountain, high, wide, and well known, lies in Bavaria, known as. In descriptions of the border in 1499 and 1536, the mountain that is now called the Ochsenkopf was called Fichtelberg. Thereafter the name was extended to the whole mountain region. It is also mentioned in old documents. Around 1317 the lords of Hirschberg were in fiefs inter alia with the Walt zu dem Fichtelgebirge. By the 14th century iron ore was being extracted in the St. Vith pit on the southern foot of the mountain. Fifth made Fichtel. High-profile local historian and name researchers have still not had the last word. Geography. Together with the Thuringian Forest, Thuringian Highland and Franconian Forest, the Fichtel forms a major natural region called the Thuringian Franconian Highlands, known D48 and 39. The Fichtel Mountains lie between the towns of Hof and Weiden. In the west, there is a good transport link to the nearby city of Bayreuth, whilst in the east, in the Edgerland capital, Eger, Czech, Cheb, communication is still very limited, a legacy of the Iron Curtain. The Hof-Weiden Autobahn provides a good north-south link, however. The county town in the heart of the Fichtel is Wunsiedel with its famous rock labyrinth. Other main settlements are Marktredwitz, Marktleuven, Arsberg, Roslau, Weisenstadt, Waldershof, Kirchenlamitz and Trostau, all on the upper reaches of the Eger and the Roslau. Further to the southeast and south are Biskopfsgrund, Fichtelberg, Mailmeisel, Nagel, Neusorg, Spikersdorf, Chemnath, Urbendorf, Wiesau, and Futschsmuhl. In the west are Weidenberg, Kusen, Bayreuth, Goldkronach, Bindlach, and Bad Berneck. In the northwest are Jeffreys, Zellen, Fichtelgebirge, Weisdorf, Munchberg, Obersaal, and in the boundary between the East Franconian dialect in the north and west, and the North Bavarian and Upper Palatine dialects in the east and south runs diagonally. This language border does not coincide with the administrative boundary of Upper Franconia and the Upper Palatinate, but, for example, Bavarian is also spoken in the Upper Franconian district of Wunsiedel. Moreover, there are descendants of those who, after the Second World War, came from Bohemia, Moravia, Silesia, and East Prussia into the Fichtel Mountains, and who make up a significant percentage of the population. The highest mountain in the Fichtel is the Schneeberg at 1053 meters, 3,455 ft. Other major summits are the Ochsenkopf 1024 m, the Steinwald Platte 946 m, the Cosine 939 m, the Grosser Waldstein 877 m, and the Grosser Kornberg 827 m. Geomorphologically, the Fichtel Mountains are a horseshoe-shaped massif consisting of several linked ridges, hence the term Fichtel Mountain Horseshoe Fichtelgebirge. The most important are the High Fichtel with the Schneeberg, Ochsenkopf, and Cosine Massif, northern ridge of Waldstein including the mountains of Grosser Waldstein, Epprichstein, and Kornberg, southern section with its Steinwald and Reichsforst forests, and the Kohlberg Mountain, inner Fichtel Plateau. To the northeast the Fichtel transitions into the Elster Mountains and the Orme Mountains. To the southeast is the Upper Palatine Forest, the Bohemian Forest, and the Bavarian Forest. To the northwest is a clear geological divide with the Franconian and Thuringian forests. To the southwest it descends to the morphologically very different Franconian fault block landscape. In early times the Fichtel was known as the navel of Germany, Navel Deutschlands, or the wellspring of Europers Brunnen Europes, because four important rivers rise here and flow in four different directions of the compass. To the north flows the Saxon Saal, to the east flows the Eger and its tributary, the Roslau, to the south two headstreams of the Naab, the Fichtelnaab in the center and the Heidanaab to one side. To the west the White Main, numerous moors and marshes, which are now protected, are valuable water collectors. The European watershed from the North Sea to the Black Sea runs over these mountains. Mountains and hills. The highest mountain is the Schneeberg at 1051 meters, 3,448 ft. Rivers rising from the Fichtelgebirge are the White Main German, Weser Main the Saxon, Saal the Oer German, Eger and the Fichtelnaab, which later joins the Waldnaab. Major towns on the edge of the mountain region are Bayreuth and Hof, while the mountains dip gradually away to the north and the south. The Ochsenkopf Ox Head is the second highest mountain of the Fichtel Range at 1024 meters, 3,360 ft. There are two chair lifts to the summit, one from Biskopsgrund in the north and one from Fleckel in the south. The Asenterme Essier Tower is an observation tower on the summit with a restaurant attached. The following are the highest and best-known mountains in the Fichtel listed alphabetically. Geology. Early mountain building. Geologically, the Fichtel Massif consists mainly of granite. The history of its orogeny begins in the Precambrian Aeon, about 758 million years ago. From that time, only the truncated uplands of the once towering mountain chain are left. Subsequently, the area was covered by sea and rivers transported sediments from the old eroding mountains on the coast. These sediments were deposited as layers of clay, sand, and limestone. At the beginning of the Cambrian period, about 570 million years ago, these beds were folded and raised up to form new mountains. High temperatures and pressure during this mountain folding process, which lasted into the Upper Carboniferous period, created metamorphic rock. The shale layers were transformed into phyllites and schists, sandstones metamorphosed into quartzite, and limestone produced once-idle marble. These mountains, which may have been several kilometers high, were also eroded to sea level again. Variscan orogeny, mountains from the depths of the sea, In the next phase, great deep-sea sediments were laid down under the present-day Fichtel Mountains and the Franconian forest from the Silurian, Devonian, and Lower Carboniferous periods. These are especially well recorded in the Franconian forest, whose rocks were only subject to very low-grade metamorphism associated with volcanism and ore formation, and which can finally, in the Upper Carboniferous period 285 million years ago, the Hercinian mountain building phase began and raised the Fichtel Mountains, Franconian forest, and Munchberg-Nace Plateau into high mountains like almost all the fold mountains formed during the Hercinian period. This mountain building episode was the Variscan orogeny, named after Hof's Latin name and the tribe of Varisci of Curia Variscorum. At the same time, magma intruded in several phases into the folds, where it solidified under the Earth's surface into the present-day granites. As granite formed, secondary rocks were only affected by slight contact metamorphism. The rest of the molten rock with its ore-containing fluids formed pegmatite, as well as veins of ore and minerals, the basis of the medieval mining industry and early industrialization of this region. During the Upper Carboniferous and Lower Permian Rotli gens, large quantities of rock debris were deposited in intramontane basins and onto the foreland of the mountain range. These basins were formed by extensional tectonics, which were accompanied by an intermediate to acidic volcanism. The sediments of the Rotli gens are only exposed in a few places, but have been confirmed across a wide area by drilling beneath the platform southwest of the Franconian line. Late Variscan volcanic rocks occur in the Fichtel Mountains as layers of rhyolite. Alpine orogeny creates new pressures. In the Neogene Upper Tertiary beginning 26 million years ago period, tectonic activity increased again just as the Alpine orogeny Alps, Carpathians, etc. slowly came to an end. In that time, parts of this and other older massifs, such as the Bohemian Moravian Highlands or Bohemian Massif in the Alpine foothills, sometimes ended up underneath younger rock. In the Upper Miocene 10 million years ago, molten basalt broke through in northern Upper Palatinate as the Intergraben was being formed. Through erosion, the remains of former diatremes have been uncovered and may be seen, e.g., on the Rotterkulm or at Parkstein near Wading. Basaltic surface layers, i.e. extensive flows of low-viscosity lava, are visible e.g. on the Fichtelgebirge near Pechbrunn. These basaltic naps should not, however, be confused with the formation of tectonic layers. The formation of the present landscape finally took place in the younger Pliocene about 5 million years ago. An earlier formed Franconian fault line came under pressure again, and the Fichtel Mountains, Franconian Forest, the Munchberg Gneiss Massif, and the northern Upper Palatine Forest were uplifted along it. This last uplift gave the forces of erosion more to do again, and the rivers cut deeply into the already almost leveled mountain range. So the present-day structure was created from a plateau, a low mountain range which is being gnawed away at on all sides, with a long and varied history. Although often difficult to interpret, it is an Eldorado for geologists from a wide range of specialisms. Predominant rock types. Granite, Latin, granum for grain and its derivatives, make up about 40% of the area, its impact being all the more striking because this very hard, yet hydrous, rock forms the highest peaks in the area. Its stark appearance and the early emergency of industry here have made their mark on landscape and people. In detail, there is porphyritic granite of the Weissenstedt/Liebenstein Massif, including the towns of Markleuden/Roßlau and extending into the Czech Republic as far as Haslau. The porphyry contains biotite dark mica and phenocrysts of feldspar up to 8 cm across. Ute granite near Jeffreys is, by contrast, finer with a bluish-gray hue. Selb granite found northeast of the Upper Massif near Schwarzenhammer and running through the Selb Forest and the Czech Republic into Saxony/Elster Mountains is fine-grained, but gray again. Halsmühl granite occurs in just 2 small outcrops near Halsmühl, 3 km southeast of Markleuden and near Langenau on the Wartburg, east-northeast of Selb, medium-grained with a higher biotite content, unevenly grained microstructure. Redwitz is also called Cnide Granite and occurs in the Marktredwitz/Arsberg/Thiersheim triangle, medium, and also fine-grained. Its variable mineral composition produces colorations from light gray, dark gray, and dark green-gray to almost black. Rand granite Dach granite occurs in all the prominent massifs of the Fichtel Mountains, the Otzinkopf. Cassine Rand granite occurs on the Cassine, including the Bergstein, Haberstein, and Scharberg, and the southern part of the Grosser Kornberg Massif. Kern granite is found in the central Fichtelberg/Otzinkopf/Neufschart block and on the eastern perimeter of the Schneeberg. It forms outcrops in the shape of numerous rock formations, medium to coarse-grained. Cassine and Wolfsgarten Kern granite. There are numerous pockets of Cassine granite containing hornfels, large biotite-rich shreds, and nodules of host rock, rounded or round quartz feldspar-rich pockets on the Cassine Massif, narrow band on the north, east, and southern edge, small labyrinth. Zinn granite is restricted to the central massif and occurs on the Rudelstein, on the Drei Brüder almost to the summit of the Schneeberg, western slope of the Seehügel, between Seehügel and Platt, Fuchsbau and Zufert west of Leopoldsdorf, very even, medium grain, little biotite, a lot of muscovite, lighter, brighter hue. Rand granite of the Steinwald Massif, in the western part of the Steinwald, e.g. on the Dachsfelsen, and the northwestern part of the Grandfelsen, small-grained. Steinwald granite occurs in the center, including the Weissenstein Platte, Katzentrogel, Reisenegger-Felsen, and Hackelstein, coarse-grained. Friedenfels granite is the transitional facies between the Steinwald granite and the Falkenberg porphyritic granite. It forms the basement of the Petron basalt region and surfaces there at various places between the basalt nappes, porphyritic structure, especially rich in feldspar phenocrysts. Mining industry. By the early Middle Ages, man had begun to mine in the Fichtel Mountains. The most important products were gold, tin, iron, minerals, earths and rock basalt, brown coal, diabase, granite, silt, marble, soapstone, clay, and peat. In earlier times, uranium ore deposits were discovered. The metals were worked in hammer mills, hence the many place names ending with hammer on the Fichtel's rivers, in furnaces, and at metalsmiths. The forests of the Fichtel Mountains supplied the wood necessary for the manufacture of charcoal. During the 30 Years' War, the mining industry became depressed and the ore deposits were largely exhausted. In the 18th century, Alexander von Humboldt tried to revive the mining industry again. Many towns and villages, e.g. Wunsiedel, Weissenstadt, Arsberg, Fichtelberg, Neubau, Goldkronach, owe their emergence to the mining industry. An insight into the history of mining in the Fichtel Mountains may be gained from the Visitor Mine of Glessinger Fels near Fichtelberg, Neubau, the Schmutzler Gallery near Goldkronach, the Gold Mining Museum in Goldkronach, the Mining Exhibition in the Fichtelgebirge Museum at Wunsiedel, the Mining Industry Information Point at Arsberg, the Local Heritage and Mining Museum in Urbendorf. Traditions. The Huguenots introduced the Easter decorations on wells, so-called Osterbrunnen, in the shape of a lily emblem of the Bourbon kings as described e.g. in the April 2007 of the Frankish Post. Economy and tourism. Although the mining industry is only of historic interest today, there are many places in the Fichtel Mountains that still produce glassware at competitive prices. The porcelain industry, centered on the town of Seld, is internationally renowned and the foremost in Germany. Local firms such as Rosenthal and Hutchineu are of international standing. Tourism is the main source of income for many places in the Fichtel Mountains today. In some towns such as Biskopsgrund, tourism has a long tradition going back to the 1920s. After the Second World War, the stream of holidaymakers increased sharply, both in summer for walking and in winter for winter sports. The Fichtel Mountains became the local mountain range Horseshoe-Shaped for West Berliners who, unable to holiday in East Germany, were able to get there on the transit route of the A9 motorway. This has changed since German reunification and the opening up of other mountainous holiday areas. The Fichtel Mountains are a nationally important holiday destination in winter. Several lifts, the longest being 2-chair lifts on the Otzinkopf. The Fichtel Mountains attract many tourists throughout the year. In the winter, the mountains are a common destination for people seeking outdoor recreational sports like alpine skiing, cross-country skiing, and sledding. The warmer summer months find people mountain biking, hiking, and sightseeing amongst the many large rock formations. Settlements. Approaches. Rail. Marktredwitz Station has rail services to Eger, Regensburg, Nuremberg, Munich, Hof, Bayreuth, Dresden, and Leipzig. Road. Federal roads Bundesstraßen, B303 and B15. Motorways Bundesautobahnen, a 93 and a 9. Air Hofplan Airport.